The St. Louis Cardinals are one of the most confusing teams in baseball. As a fan of them, I don't know what this team has in store. As of making this video, the Cards sit at 49 and 45, which find them in a wild card spot, but in a year where so many teams in the National League are in play for those wild card spots, it's a confusing place to be in, especially because the Cards have a minus 33 run differential, which has them with an expected record of 43 and 51. So it's hard to say if the Cardinals should pull the trigger on trying to make a run at it this year. But one reason I lean towards yes is because we have seen in past years, if you get hot at the right time, any team can make a run to the World Series. We saw the D-backs last season, the Phillies in 2022, and the Braves in 2021. It really just comes down to building a roster you can trust in the postseason and then letting them play, and with only two true contenders to me in the National League with the Dodgers and Phillies, I want to see them take a chance at it. So what moves should they make at this upcoming All-Star weekend? Well, to start, the Cards do have the 7th pick in the draft, and it's kind of a wide open draft. It's hard to predict where certain players are going to be, but I would like to try to scoop up one of the plethora of infield players that are in this draft. Any of the top ones that may fall to you, I would scoop up, especially if you could snipe someone like a Travis Bazzana, who would be huge. But if somehow none of them fall to you, grab some more pitching. I personally like Chase Burns, but if he's not there, you can go Hagen Smith, and really anyone you get should be a key piece for the future with such a high draft pick. The next spot of business is the trade deadline. Now, if you follow me on TikTok, you would know I wanted this team to grab Brent Rooker, but now he's been really hot, and now I feel he would cost too much for them. And we're getting healthier, and I realize we don't have any spots left for all these bats. So I defer this deadline to going back to just picking up an extra starter or two, because right now I'm not sure this rotation can stay afloat. Michaelis already has an ERA above 4, and his expected ERA is up there as well, and the same goes with Lance Lynn, and then you can't just fall back that Kyle Gibson can keep fighting off his expected ERA of 4.91. And that really just leaves you with Sonny Gray as the only set-in-stone good starter. But someone I would like to bring up in this conversation is Andre Pallante, who I really like to stay in the rotation because his underlying numbers really point towards more success coming for him. His only fault is that he doesn't strike out enough batters, but he's getting ground balls and soft contact, but the defense behind him just isn't getting him the outs. But his expected ERA has him at 3.63, and I really think he could get around that level and be a really good piece in this rotation. Anyways, now let's talk about who I think the Cardinals should trade for. Well, I look around and I look at the Toronto Blue Jays, and someone I like on their roster is Yusei Kikuchi, who adds a lefty to this rotation and could be an arm that helps down the stretch, as he's got great strikeout numbers while limiting his walks, and his ERA is above his expected ERA now, so he should be able to be a little bit better, and I think he could be a cheap pickup that could be a low risk, medium reward type of pickup. And if you're going to make another trade, I say call up the White Sox and grab Eric Fetty, who's been excellent this year with all plus stuff around and one of the best fastball combos in the league with his sinker and cutter, which produces great ground ball rates. He gets strikeouts, limits walks, and could be a huge splash if John Mozeliak actually wants to make a big deal for once at the trade deadline. The Fetty prediction might be a little too far stretched though, but I seriously do think Kikuchi could be a good one to pick up for the Cards if they want to make a simple deal. Now we got the pitching sorted for this year, let's look at the hitting. Well, we've got a plethora of bats nowadays compared to years prior, and with everyone becoming healthy again very soon, waiting on Tommy Edman of course, I want to see the lineup consist of this: Wynn batting leadoff for the foreseeable future, Burleson batting right behind him, with Contreras in third, and then versus righties I want Nootbaar at cleanup, but then versus lefties I want Paul Goldschmidt, and then I want Donovan in the 5-hole, followed by Arenado, and then Noot or Goldie depending on who hit 4th, followed by Nolan Gorman, then whoever stays up between Pages or Herrera, since I don't know who's going to be the backup catcher for the future, but then the 9-hole bring in Tommy Edman to turn the lineup over. I think this is the alignment that would be the best possible spots for everyone. I've tried to put everyone there near their best spots by OPS, and with this assortment, I believe everyone would produce fairly well based on projections and could get the most out of this offense. With all these guys here, I expect this team to be able to have one of the top 12 offenses in the league behind some great hitters in the top part of the lineup with Wynn and Burleson, who have been great this year, followed by one of the best hitters in the league, Wilson Contreras, and then Nootbaar, who smashes righties, Paul Goldschmidt, whose underlying stats gotta catch up, and then names like Arenado, Gorman, and Edman fill out the bottom half. Now, I've tried to set the team up for success, and if they win, they win, but if they crash and burn and miss the playoffs or get bounced out in the wild card once again, you have to change the shit up. And in the offseason, the first thing I do is let Paul Goldschmidt walk. I also look and see if Arenado has a deal that someone would take him off our hands, and if it's there, you might look to do it. Now, why would I do that? Well, I think you could fit everyone you want next year if you let him and Goldie go. Starting with Wilson Contreras at catcher/DH at times, Burley at first, Gorman at second/DH, Edman then gets shortstop back, and Mason Wynn actually makes a move to third, which would be new, but Wynn has showed this year he is better when going to his left, and then he has the arm for third, so I think think this would be a great fit for him if he could adjust to it. And then we have left field, which is Brendan Donovan. Center goes to Lars Nootbaar, with right going back to Jordan Walker, who many fans have forgot about, but he makes his way back up to the big leagues. Then on the bench, you got Michael Ciani, Tommy Sagasi, Pedro Pajes, or Ivan Herrera, and then another utility guy, maybe someone like Victor Scott if he sticks around, or someone you sign in the offseason. I think this would be our best bet for the future in a perfect scenario, but if Arenado stays, it's going to take away bats from Walker most likely, as I think he would be the one moved out, which would suck because his development is huge for the future of the franchise, so that's why I make the moves I do for this team. Also, with all those moves, I would trade Dylan Carlson as well. Now let's look at the future of the pitching staff for this team. So Sonny Gray is a lock for at least the next 2 years, so then you have Miles Michaelis, who's also locked into a big contract. Same with Steven Matz, but he can easily be moved to the bullpen, which brings me to Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, who have team options this summer. So this is all subject to change depending on how the second half of the year goes, but based off expected stats, I expect these two to finish with high 4 ERAs, which means I drop both of them and I look to add an arm or two in free agency. Of course, there's expected to be big names like possibly Garrett Cole, Blake Snell, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, and I would throw an offer Scherzer's way, as he could be our vet in this rotation, but another one I would throw one at is Luis Severino if his option finds him in free agency, and in best case scenario, you get 1 or 2 of those players, and then Tink Hence steps in as the 5th starter, with Takoa Roby, if he can find his stride in AAA, could be that long relief 6th starter type role, or Gordon Graceffo for that same role, but if you get 1 starter in free agency, you could have Graceffo step into that rotation as the 5th starter. And this sets you up with what should be a good rotation for the near future if these young guys pan out, plus you have more arms coming with Quinn Matthews, Cooper Hjerp, Sam Robertsi, Michael McGreevy, I could go on. We've got a lot of arms coming in, and that's where I transition to the bullpen, where we have one of the best units this season, and that's why I give Helsley a huge contract extension this offseason, and then give Kittredge 1 more season as well, and I let Giovanni Gallegos walk while we retain every other bullpen arm in arbitration. And with all those other young arms coming in, you got a ton of middle relief to long relief arms to choose from. And back to someone I talked about earlier is Andre Pallante, as I think he could find himself in the pen next year, and I think with his fastball and other pitches, he could be a great back-end relief guy as well. And best yet, all these relief pitchers have a ton of control for the Cardinals, so you could build one of the best units for the years to come. I think this is the best course of action for the St. Louis Cardinals for the next few seasons, and I think this sets us up for the route to being contenders once again and making our way back to winning the NL Central. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.